everyone, and welcome to the Wright Perspective. Today, we're going to recap and review Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood, a 1996 comedy film starring Shawn Wayans and Marlon Wayans. It was written by Shawn and Marlon and Phil Bowman, produced by Keenan Ivory Wayans and Eric Gold, and directed by Paris Barclay. The movie, which was a spoof of well-known Black coming-of-age and hood dramas, made $20.1 million on a budget of $3.8 million. The cast included several Black actors and comedians that are considered important or iconic, including Bernie Mac, Vivica Fox, Terry J. Vaughn, Omar Epps, and more. For some, these details would be enough for this movie to be considered a classic. But today, we will determine whether it is a classic from the Wright Perspective. We'll do a recap, discuss the movie, and then we'll take a vote using a voting symbol picked especially for this discussion. But let's start with intros. Kick us off, bro.
Hi, I'm Aubrey Wright. I'm the oldest.
I'm Genia Wright. I'm the middle.
Hi, and I'm Brittany Wright, and I'm a youngest. And shout out to two of our cousins that are going to be watching this, Mike and Ryan. They were looking forward to this podcast for this video. So
and we've been looking forward to it. We've been looking forward to it because we have been building toward this.
Yes.
Right?
If once we have a following, Brittany's going to have a hard time breaking out of naming each individual.
Oh, it's going to happen.
Cousins always get called out. Though.
I'm going to get a scroll. There's going to be a scroll. Listen, and there's so many because even Janai and I were going back through some of our podcasts and we've been missing comments on some of our YouTube videos, and there were some suggestions, and we're doing one of those suggestions. And when we do, I'm going to shout you out, sir.
Well, that definitely deserves.
Yeah, and y'all, it's so funny. But just the our cousins looking forward to this one. We have been building toward this one, right? Yeah. Because our whole we looked at the title of this, Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood, and we have been moving this season and last season through watching the movies that are named in this title. And so the title definitely is referencing Menace to Society, South Central, okay, Juice, and Boys in the Hood. Those are explicitly named in there, and we've seen all of those. And so we were ready to, we felt like we were ready to watch this movie. But there are other movies that are referenced in this movie. And so, and I didn't realize that until we're now watching it. And I'm like,
I had forgotten, but it's Higher Learning, Poetic Justice, and
Dead Presidents.
Yep.
See, and now I see that. So once again, I'm back in high school now.
I take blame for that because I completely forgot, and I don't even know how, because the main truck, the main vehicle in the movie is that mail truck, and that is directly for Poetic Justice, But yeah, so it was just those three.
And Wikipedia says that also Jungle Fever is referenced. It says that Do the Right Thing, New Jack City, Friday. You know, anyway, it's Wikipedia. Who knows who wrote it? You know.
I get told you see Friday.
I don't really know what they would Do the Right Thing or New Jack City.
Friday, I can see that. Do the Right Thing might be how at the beginning they're panning into the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And kind of doing that Spike Lee type.
Okay.
Zoom in.
Yeah.
And they make a reference to radio, to Radio Raheem.
They do make a reference to Radio Raheem.
Which I know, yeah.
And you know what? It was funny during the movie. I had to pause and go, "Wait, who is Radio Raheem?" I was like, "Oh, I haven't seen Do the Right Thing. My bad, Spike Lee." Yeah. We need like a whole section for Spike Lee. Spike Lee deserves like a whole 2-3 episodes.
He really does.
I'm still a little mentally stuck on who is Radio Raheem. Like,
no, absolutely.
I feel like you shouldn't have said that publicly.
I said it. Even
I, Genia Wright, have seen all the Spike Lee movies.
When did Do the Right Thing come out? Let's look.
Oh God, here we go.
A lot of our content is.
That movie came out in 1989. How old was I?
She likes to point out how young she was with her.
Listen, you young for a lot of our content. Okay.
Now, if we had a podcast about music, I would have no excuse. Why? Because my music library starts in 1920. So
We're so off the rails. What are we supposed to be talking about?
The voting symbol. The voting symbol.
Right,
but I will just,
excellent.
I want to make sure, because I have shared this story in prior podcasts, but I want to let y'all know I have seen Don't Be a Menace before.
Right.
And I saw it in high school. And when I saw it in the theaters with a group of friends, I didn't get any of the jokes. Everyone was laughing and having a grand old time. And I didn't get it because I had not seen any of the movies that were being referenced in it. And so I want to let y'all know, I am so disappointed that I watched it again and still had not seen all the movies.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's so much.
Decades later, still ill prepared.
Yeah,
so I blame the both of you because
I'll take that. I'll take that. More to Brittany, especially because
I guess I could have checked the internet.
Because those definitely, when she was reading that poem, when I saw, I was like that, and then I remember, and that made me think of all of the other, because the grandma jumping out and everything, but of the trash cans. So like,
well,
go ahead.
Let the record show. Even we're gonna have to.
But we at least watch everything in the title.
That's what's important.
That's right. That's right.
So we can do some addendums next season.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do
since this is our season finale.
That's right.
We can do some.
Well, y'all, Aubrey trying to get us back on track. You're right. We're supposed to be picking a voting symbol right now because we pick a voting symbol specifically for the content we're reviewing.
That's right.
And, I have one to recommend for us. Okay. And I am recommending The Mailman. Periodically throughout this movie, there is a mailman that will pop up and say, message. And what he's doing, Keenan Ivory Wayans. And what he's doing is punctuating like the moments where there is a larger, comment on society that's being made in a really summative way by one of the characters. And that is something that is common in hood films. And so I really appreciated that as a way to, almost celebrate what can make one of those movies really poignant. Is just those
at the same time they're like making fun of it. They're parodying it and like
totally. Right. And it's also what makes the spoof itself important. Right. Because I was kind of just this morning actually just talking over this movie with James. And he was like, at the time when this movie came out, Don't Be a Menace, it was at the same time that all of the hood movies were coming out that were just so hard and hitting on all of the darkness in the community. And so to have this movie come out and it be by us, and it is about spoofing that, saying that we can also laugh at ourselves. And make fun of the fact that this is the part of our storyline that's broken through. Yeah. And so the mailman, to me, he is that. He is the Black man saying, you know what, this is a spoof because this is our reality, but we get to own it this time. We're sending you the message. We're putting this in the envelope. We're sending you the message. And there's something in that mailman that
you're doing the hand motion. Were you doing that on purpose?
No,
that's what you do when you're really boiling it down.
That's it though. But that's it. Message. That's what it does.
For our audio audience, what I'm actually doing is I'm just all the tips of my fingers on one hand are together, right. As if I'm really smushing like lies and getting to the truth.
You're smushing lies. You're honing in on the point. That's what it is.
And so that's why I recommend The Mailman, because the spoof itself is a message about us owning our story and us being able to own our truth, hold it in all of its complexity, and to laugh at it. So,
and I want everyone to know, all of our listeners to know, James is Jania's boyfriend. We know that you hear his name oftentimes on our podcast. He is going to have to guest appear at some point, so you all can put a face to a name. Okay.
Yeah, I love debriefing these things with him because he's a little older than I am. And so it's like sometimes Aubrey brings a perspective into our podcast for these 90s movies because he was of age when they came out. So there's something nice to talk with somebody who was there,
Right.
Hey bro, did you come up with any voting symbols for us?
I only have
to
one,
consider?
but and Genia and we're I guess it's the season finale. We're bringing everybody up to date on all the things that are going on. But Genia always goes first because she is very, very over analytical with her symbols. And she digs deep for these symbols. Mm-hmm. And it's my favorite part of the podcast. But every once in a while, she will hit it. You went overly deep, but you sold me. You sold me. I was thinking, I couldn't really think of one. I thought of a leaf because it was funny. And the reason why I thought of a leaf was because in Boys in the Hood, that was a significant moment where he had to, he made his son bag up the leaves. And like anybody who's been in that certain time and learned those kind of lessons off your dad, that was the purpose of that movie. Right. Like I'm putting you with your dad and now you're coming of age or whatever. And they really made fun of that. And yeah, they had the leaves just falling. And
so random.
And then it was falling. And at one point you're like, are they doing this on purpose? Yes. But then the leaf comes in the window and he has to like blow it off. And so anyway, I was going to think of leaf, but I really like the idea of the mailman because not only is it funny, that was a funny part of the movie, but that is the point. The point that summarizes the point. So I'm vetoing my own suggestion. I'm on board with the billboards.
You're showing out for this season finale. Whoa.
Sis, what you got? And don't say what we all think you're about to say. Don't say
already know.
No, you better not. And okay, Brittany comes up with her ideas on the spot. We're in spectrum. Janai thinks too deeply. I think just deep enough, in my opinion. And Brittany comes up with it on the spot. That's what we do.
There's no depth.
It's jazz.
We're just pointing out things that were there. Okay. Guns. All right.
New Year's.
You have
you know what,
the mail truck. You
all
also
right, that's
have
fine. The mail truck is fine.
The hot dog, which I think everyone remembers. So I knew about the hot dog before I even seen this movie. Mm-mm. Yeah.
I'm so mad I don't get this mail truck reference. Very disappointed.
I'm so sorry. I'm disappointed.
And let me be clear. I've never watched Wedding Justice. I've just seen enough clips or seen it when it was on TV just to see that they were riding around in the truck, which I never questioned because I was like, what's happening here? But I don't really actually plan on watching this movie, so I'll never know. But I guess I have to watch it.
It's gotta be on the list.
We got to do it for this podcast.
You have to watch it.
It's a hood movie. It's gotta be on the list.
So yeah, those are really what there was nothing the mailman was the only thing that was consistent throughout the entire movie. There are a lot of call outs, but nothing. That was it though. So that's it.
Well, sis, I heard you kind of like getting on board with the mailman.
Listen, I'm on board.
What I heard?
Oh, there it is.
I'm on board.
Yes.
A mailman.
All right,
mailman. Our voting symbol is the mailman.
It's
the mailman. And so in order for this movie to be considered a classic, it will have to receive 3 mailmen at the conclusion of this podcast. 0, 1, or 2, it will not be considered a classic from the Wright Perspective. So let's hop in. Now, we start with a recap because our content is generally old. And so we do a recap at the top. It's full of spoilers. That's your spoiler alert. And, we also have people that haven't seen the content that we're reviewing, but they just want to enjoy the podcast. So we do a recap so they'll be able to follow along and have the main nuggets. And so because this is a smush of movies we've seen already, except that I haven't seen some, So upset about that. I recognize the box braids though.
You
I
get
do know that.
I just want to remind you, I admit I was wrong. I apologize, but I'm still being accosted.
It's not even directed at you. It's just like, man, I was so ready to redeem myself.
I'll tell you one thing, it wasn't going to add any extra laughs if you would have seen them. So
it wasn't.
Well, one thing is for sure, it's making this recap very brief. The fact that we've seen these movies. Okay, so let's do a quick recap.
I mean, it's not like this is a plotted movie.
Right. So. It was talking about the eels of
Brittany was just doing the smush finger again.
Yes.
The eels. So
if we vote, we should do, with
yes, that's right.
Message. All right, go ahead.
So if the title didn't give it away, immediately when the movie starts, it is a spoof because it starts with words on the screen. 1 out of every 10 Black males will be forced to sit through at least one Grown Up in the Hood movie in their lifetime. And then it goes to a second screen. At least 1 out of 5 will be shot while watching the movie.
so terrible.
If you thought it was not a spoof, this is when you give it away. So a young man named Trey, which is actually short for Ashtray, is sent to the inner city to live with his father so he can learn how to be a man. His friends and family are there, including his father, who is actually younger than him, his cousin Loke Dog, who picks shoes to match his gun when he's getting dressed in the morning, his aunt, who makes soups with 40 instead of a chicken broth, his grandmother, who is foul-mouthed and high all the time and a little violent, and 2 friends, including Crazy Legs, a friend who is in a wheelchair due to street violence, and Preach, who wears kente cloth and dates white women. Ashtray falls for and accidentally and immediately impregnates a girl named Dashiki that has 7 kids, but is planning to leave the hood soon. And she asks Trey to go with her. And one of her baby's father's, Toothpick, who's a gentleman who's recently been released from prison, whose tattoos are drawn on with a marker and change from day to day. Okay. And, Toothpick and his crew find out about Ashtray and Dashiki. And so they try to kill Ashtray's whole crew with a drive-by. Ashtray gets shot, but ultimately he and his entire crew are okay. Loke Dog goes on to be a comedian. Crazy Legs becomes a famous ballerina. Preach settles down with a white woman in a trailer. Ashtray and Dashiki get married and live happily ever after, having escaped the hood. So that is
it. That is literally it.
Yeah,
that is literally it. So
it's so crazy because when I got done watching it, I told Janaya, I said, your review, your recap is going to be 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to be long at all.
Totally. It's more about mapping which of the key tropes they focused on to make a story arc. But let the record show there were so many other ways, like outside of the ones that I just named in the recap, that they were leaning into the tropes of these films. They had grandmas at church breakdancing, the Holy Ghost. They were just they were making fun of like these parts of Black culture that people try to
So I have a question
without us in the room.
I have a question. Do you feel like, because the Wayans as a family, right, and Keenan being the spearhead of entertainment for them, do you feel like their movies are like a callback to maybe like the Black exploitation type movies at times? Like, do you feel like they're anything like, or do you feel like they created their whole own like genre of spoof and Black?
Yeah, I would say that because like when you're I haven't seen many of their movies, but like whenever you watch them, they do all have the same feel. You know what I mean? Like you could tell when there's some Wayans at the helm of this spoof movie that they're
and
making.
and they did and I haven't seen it. We should actually put this on the list, but I'm Gonna Get You Sucker is written and produced by Keenan Ivory Wayans.
List.
And that was actually a spoof. It's a parody of blaxploitation films.
Okay.
So
and I've seen that. I've seen it, but I haven't seen it in like a million years.
I forgot all about that. Yeah, that definitely needs to be on the list.
So that is more so my question. Like, do you think that the Wayans were at the forefront of spoof movies? I'm not saying that there haven't been spoof movies before theirs, but just in the way they did them, how frequently they do them, like, did they create like their own genre in a sense? Like, did they do something and make it their own? Like, you know what I mean? Like, are there
there are big spoof movies that came out before the Wayans, but you got to figure
about like all the Police Academy movies. Those were
the Police Academies.
And then there was the one with the
Blazing Saddles.
So I think spoofing was out there.
So that, but however, it's kind of like soul music has already been around. But then, when Erykah Badu came out with, it was like this neo soul genre. It was like, it's still soul, but it just feels a little different, and I think their subgenre, they definitely, so I think both things could be true. That yes, spoof movies obviously were a big thing prior, but also they made their own. Because when you think about In Living Color and the 90s, the Wayans owned that time frame. I mean, can you? I don't know if you'll remember Brittany. And, we got cousins who are supposed to be watching this, so they probably the first time In Living Color came on was on an Easter Sunday. I don't know what year it was.
Wow!
But it was on an Easter Sunday. Look that up, sis. And for Easter Sunday, most times we would go to our dad's mother's house, Effie Granny's house. And everybody had been talking about this In Living Color thing. I forget what year it was, but I know it was Easter
April
Sunday.
15th, 1990.
Yes. Okay, so because we were all there and watching In Living Color for the first time in that environment, it was like we were in pain laughing. Okay, like it was just.
And that's when our families are all together. I mean, it was a special for that to come out is just so beautiful and perfect.
It was just because I hope, Janai, I don't know if you remember.
I don't remember it coming out. I don't remember that moment. I remember though In Living Color. I definitely remember. I remember looking forward to it. I remember there are sketches from that I can recall so clearly right now because of how much I loved watching that show.
And I'm just saying that day I remember specifically. And like Mike, you mentioned it's gonna be his older brother, Arnie. Arnie and I were the oldest two in that part of our family. And I remember
Ryan, who's watching, is a little bit older than you.
That's right, but he didn't live. But
he
Ryan,
would have been,
he's in North Carolina. So we could do a whole podcast and talk about those family reunions, but
y'all, that would be hilarious if we recorded it.
So people
Zoom of our
family members.
They would love that.
Yeah,
we would love that because we're a reality show.
No doubt, especially during those times.
We are a reality show,
even driving down. But I just remember,
oh my god,
with Arnie there, he was like, they need to change that to an hour. Like I just remember him saying that because it was just like 30 minutes of just complete laughter. But the reason why I go
and
to
dancing and music, that was the other thing.
Dancing, music, and did you know that Shawn was never a DJ for real?
What was he up there doing?
SW1. He just played the record. He was never a DJ. But that's the thing.
But you had to honor DJ culture. No, like I respect that.
The thing about Keenan was putting everybody on.
Yes,
so it didn't matter. It was just like, yo, okay, well, you the DJ then. You know what I mean? Like
go up on the roof and just sit up there and look cool.
Like but the point I'm trying to make is if you watch In Living Color now, though, it's not. There are certain sketches that are still funny to me. You know what I mean? I like the one with the preachers, with the mega pastors, where Damon Wayans and Jim Carrey. And you know where he's like,
I was thinking of David Allen Greer.
Where he's like, I gotta speak to the Lord. I gotta speak to the Lord in tongue.
But what about, bro, so I gotta tell you, I have had days where I have just gone online and been looking at In Living Color. And for me, those things hold up. I think they're like Whitney Houston songs. They're classics. They're gonna be funny forever.
But the ones you see on YouTube are still classics.
Mm-hmm.
But that show was on for a long time.
Yes,
and each episode had multiple skits. And so when you and trust me, you all, I'm bringing this all back to Don't Be a Menace. But I know it feels like I'm out in the weeds.
But that's what this is. We're talking about this genius family. This family they're geniuses.
5 seasons, 127 episodes.
And because of those main clips that we're talking about, like when Damon Wayans was Homie the Clown, or when Damon Wayans
was the educated man in jail.
Oswald Bates.
That's it.
Oswald Bates. Just that.
See, these are people from our lives. This is like the Black community.
Like everybody knows that person who talks like that with that
yes.
same cadence.
What about Fire Marshal Bill, y'all?
Fire Marshal Bill, Wanda.
Listen, middle film, which is like, it would be controversial now.
That would be so controversial.
That was the other thing. Like back then, you could go hard. Like you could go hard and take risks without worrying about people trying to destroy everything you've ever done.
Canceling the show.
What was the Kim Wayans character that was a gossip? And she's like, nobody talk about my Miss Benita.
Yeah.
He's so stinky, smell like corn chips. Like,
or how they used to spoof music videos.
Yes.
Was it? I never ran out of songs to sing.
Oh yeah, but
people. 100%
Scooby-Doo, where are you?
All that. Then when they did Shabba Ranks, Mr. Ugly Man.
Ugly Man. Oh man, see, this stuff is so good.
So
they
I'm
had
saying
the Butthead
all of those,
family.
No, all of those are still good. But if you go back and watch the show, it's not going to hit you the same. You know, but it wasn't just those clips that we thought were funny at the time. We thought the whole show was funny. And I just get that same feeling when I was watching Don't Be a Menace, because I haven't seen this movie for a really long time. And I didn't laugh once in the whole movie. Like even a nostalgic chuckle, it just didn't happen. I mean, there were parts that were, like seeing them go, message, like that was, but the thing is, you gotta think, y'all, this is 96. I graduated high school in 96. So this is a year for me. And 96 has some of the best music ever released. It's my favorite year for music, for real. Like 96, just there's so many great albums that came out. And so when you got all this stuff coalescing, their comedy style, that's why I'm surprised the budget for that movie was only $3,000, because the Wayans were,
it was 3.8 million.
Yeah, I mean 3.8 million. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm surprised because, everybody was so excited to go see this. And I remember being in the movie laughing.
Yeah, I remember that too. People cracking up, and I was like, but bro,
that makes sense to me that budget was so low. I mean, this is an all-Black movie, all-Black cast. They're expecting always for anything that we touch to flop. So I'm gonna give you 3.8. you're good. So then it's like, okay, we tripled that. You're welcome. Like, that type of situation that has to always happen, which is stupid. But what it seems, of course, we don't know the Wayans, right? But it seems like the Wayans are like, okay. Like,
I wonder if they did it on their own.
Okay.
I wonder if they
that too.
I wonder if they self-funded it, because I'm just saying, I am very interested to continue this conversation. I know it's going to be a shorter podcast because there's not much to talk about in this for this movie. But what I'm curious about, because I still haven't decided, because although I did not laugh, like if I had a kid and I showed them all the hood movies I grew up with, including the ones we missed, Poetic Justice. Like, I feel like I still would want to show them.
Absolutely.
You know what? I'll say this. Like, I think
now before you make your point, don't forget, I just want to say, bro, that's exactly what Mike was saying when I was talking to him and Ryan last night. Mike was like, oh, my daughters, I already have all the DVDs ready. When they get old enough, they're about to watch all the movies from my childhood.
And how can you complete the set without Don't Be a Menace? I just don't, like, if I have a wall of hood movies,
it'll always be there.
It's a part of it, and bro, that's when you were talking about you didn't really laugh out loud. Last night I texted Brittany, or maybe we were talking, Britt, and I was like, it was not ha funny, but it was one of those things where it's like I was able to appreciate the humor. It was like, wow, that was a good take on that. So it was more like respect. It was like respect for the comedy that was there, And I know, like, at the time, the thing about it, and this is something else that James pointed out. James pointed out that, like, this spoof came out while the movies were still coming out.
Wow. Yes.
And so it was one of those things where you were making fun of the things we're talking about right now. Right. And so I'm sure that made it funnier in the moment because somebody was still having a fresh laugh about something that happened in a movie, and also, one of the other things that James was talking about was, like, he was saying at the time it felt like a release valve because all of the content that was coming out was like, okay, here are the 10 really unfortunate things about what's happening in our community. Let's just keep having movies about these couple things. And then it was Black creators saying, okay, now we're making fun of ourselves. And so I think that was also, it was that kind of cathartic laugh, I think also probably at the time.
Definitely.
So as I'm watching it.
And the other thing is the stuff that was happening in the hood movies was still going on.
It was still going on.
So it was like a release valve, not just from the movies, but just from everything. And I could see that watching it now. I didn't laugh out loud, but I smiled. And I'm studying comedy writing right now, and I'm a student of sketch, and so I see the that it was well done. That's what I was watching. I could respect the humor, Sis, did you laugh out loud at all while watching it?
I laughed out loud one time. And I don't even remember. Oh, wait, no. Maybe it was the scene where the woman, and I feel so bad, I can't, Terry J. Vaughn, where she was turned into the demon when they were having sex inside the mail truck. I think maybe, but that's because Marlon Wayans, anytime he does that scream, I don't care if it was on their show, the Wayans brothers, any movie, it's just like, how do you get your voice to do this pitch? What is happening here? So anytime in his little skinny body, like they play into just his little frame.
He's a good physical comedian.
He's so good at it. And so I just appreciate I think that was the time that I actually laughed out loud, him screaming and trying to run away, because this is the same person in the same movie at the beginning where he pulled out his gun to get a girl's telephone number. But that same woman pulled out a gun.
Here's the thing.
Well, that's brilliant writing.
That is because
it's brilliant.
It's like you can, it made it able to laugh at that situation the way they did it. And I'm going to tell you, if I was talking to somebody, like if I was talking to my high school friends, we would be laughing about that in retrospect more than I was, I didn't laugh when I was watching it. But like if we were talking about like, yo, remember when he pulled out the gun?
Yes.
It was like, or I'm gonna tell you another one that was cemented in my memory was when Ashtray punched his grandmother. Like that was unexpected.
It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Or that part
and that one got a big laugh.
The part where Ashtray comes into Daishiki's house where she's packing up and he's imitating Cuba Gooding Jr. after, I can't remember who I think it's after what's his name gets shot. I can't remember. And Cuba Gooding Jr. is like punching the air and Nia Long.
No, it was after they got pulled over by them cops.
It was okay.
Yeah.
And
so much
he's like,
anger. He didn't know where to put it.
Yeah.
And he was like punching the air, and like Nia Long consoled him by having sex with him. And so that watching this part where he comes into this house and he's punching the air and he's punching the kids. And I was just like, y'all are the worst. Why are you the worst?
Listen.
And then she says, what are you doing? And he's like, trying to get a Soul Train award.
I would best actor at the Soul Train Awards. I didn't want to cut off. I thought that was where Brittany was going. So I didn't want to cut off. But I'm just saying, that was one of the parts that was like, I'm watching it now and I'm like, but at the time, because first of all, if you remember in Boys in the Hood, he was sniffing at her a little bit. It was a little weird. And it was just one of those subtle things that he kept, and then she was like, what are you doing? And it was just a callback that, it was really hit the nail on the head at the time.
Yes, yeah.
And then when he just started, and he was like, trying to win Best Actor at the Soul Train Awards, it just nailed it. And it was funny because, like, yo, I didn't laugh, but it's like, I remember that being that was a moment, you know what I mean? Like, that was a moment, so.
Yeah.
Even with the father being younger than Ashtray. I think that was a call to some of the characters in these actual movies being around the same age. They were like 10 and 15 years apart. I
actually found some trivia. I found some trivia about that. So Cuba Gooding Jr. Cuba Gooding Jr. is only 7 years younger than Lawrence Fishburne, who played his father in Boys in the Hood in 1991.
It's
Brittany, I never thought about that. I wonder if that's what, because I always thought they were just making fun of the trope that, you know what I'm saying, the fathers are so young. But like, I think that might have been intentional. Like the fact that you got these two actors, I wonder.
It was like, it's like boys playing, boys raising boys, girls raising girls. I remember that being in our youth, what they were saying about was a problem. So
it was what? So it might have been like a double.
It's probably both.
And when he pulled out the nuclear missile in the back of the truck, that was another funny moment.
But it was funny. But it was also
a problem.
It was also, again, the brilliance of the writing, because it's really about, why are these kinds of guns out? Why are these weapons out in the community?
They're in the
community. The guys in the car had a rocket launcher. And then Lope Dog had an actual atomic bomb. And and again, I didn't laugh out loud, but it was like, I was able to observe like how well written that was, to really make fun of what was at the heart of the problem that was being surfaced in those movies.
And it's deep because it's like they're going to different levels of, I'm willing to destroy us all.
Man,
I'm willing to destroy us off. Or I caused a nuclear holocaust up in here.
Vivica Fox's character in the beginning of the
one.
movie, when she goes to drop Ashtray off at his dad's house, who's younger than him, he says, Mom, will I see you again? She said, no. Now you know they don't have any black female what is it? Any
positive
black,
images of black women
in any of these movies. And I was like, oh, thank you, Wayans. Thank you, Wayans.
And that was a, you know, that was at her height too. You know what I mean? Like so for her to be doing that cameo. And I also thought it was cool that the guy, Janelle might have this, the guy that they ended up beating up was the same guy that they beat up in Menace to Society.
Oh no, I didn't get that.
What's his name?
The one that they beat him so that he was flat like a pancake.
Yeah, it's the same guy.
That's right.
His,
that was his brother.
Yeah, he played himself.
Was the brother. I forgot about that.
I know him from Major Payne. Wasn't he in Major Payne?
No.
He wasn't in Major Payne.
Okay.
He was in Players Club. I feel bad for him. I feel like every black movie, he's always like a thug. Like he's always angry. And I'm like, he can play someone nice. He's so typecast. And I'm like, but I bet he's really nice. But it's funny that he was able to make fun of himself. It was funny seeing Omar Epps in this movie making fun of himself.
Yo, that was dope.
Yeah.
That was dope too. And it was like the whole feel, because I'm gonna tell you, higher learning is one of from what I remember, that's a good one. You know what I'm saying? Like, just there was a lot going on in the setting of the movie. It was a hood movie, but it was in college, and then that was different. You know what I'm saying? But like, he had on the same outfit that he had on in Higher Learning. And, it's killing me. I don't know that bald guy's name.
I don't have enough information to like, I can't.
I'll pull him up.
Or maybe give me one where he's a main character.
He's in Players Club. He's the brother that raped Monica Calhoun's character.
Okay.
I'm pulling him up.
That needs to be on the list too.
Yeah. Take her to the car. Why do I know that song? No one asked. Don't ask.
Well, that is another thing that.
But if you can find him, I feel like he deserves a shout out.
Yeah,
he does, because he's so good.
Brittany is better equipped to find him. That was another thing that is about making this movie. It's us. It was like a taking back of power, and when I think about it like that, like, we can laugh at ourselves. We live in this truth enough that we can find humor in it. The actors themselves spoofing themselves. To me, there's no better way to take back the power, because you always hear actors in Hollywood, Black actors, talking about how, the options that are available in many cases.
His name is Samuel Caffeine Miliano Monroe Jr.
Okay,
he has a lot of names.
Yeah,
several names there.
That's him, right? That's who you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He's done a lot of stuff, but he has been typecast. He's very talented.
And Leonette Scott spoofs her character from Boys in the Hood in 1991.
So who?
Leonette Scott.
Which one was that?
I think she was the one that was in The Party. Hold on. And
the hood chick.
Yes, in The Party.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And Toshi. And I didn't know this for a fact, but it seems like the crackhead was the crackhead from Menace. But I don't know.
Toshi Toda, who played the Asian shopkeeper in Don't Be a Menace, also played the shopkeeper in the beginning of Menace to Society.
So that was the same. Okay.
Wow.
But it's just, to me, there's something so wonderful to kind of say, you all were boxing us into these parts, and now we're choosing them, and we're making fun of that box. Yeah. And it's not necessarily, I'm not saying like the industry was the creator of the hood films. I'm saying the gatekeepers, these are the films they were allowing through. These are the messages that they just were enabling to be out there, when we know that there was, I'm sure, creators of the time trying to get a more well-rounded set of stories about the Black experience out there. So much power being taken back by spoofing yourself.
It is. But it's also great to have people come in and laugh, but still catch what you're trying to convey. That there is senseless killings in the street.
That's right.
A lot of our men are dying at young ages at the hands of each other. We are having these business owners that are like, so that scene where Loke Dog and Ashtray go shopping at the store, a white man comes in who is the man that we find out, and he is literally like robbing the store, putting a ton of things inside of a garbage bag,
and they're not watching him at all. They're paying him
at all. They're telling them to hurry up and buy stuff, and so he has literally come in, robbed the store, comes back in and kills the owners, and throws the gun at Marlon Wayans so his fingerprints can be on the gun. And then he has a list, just like the man that kills Omar Epps in the movie. And it's like a list to kill, and it's like Loke Dog, and he scratches it off.
Yeah,
it turns out people that they're going to jail. He's the man.
That's where the Radio Raheem
is. No, that list had Tyson, Michael Jackson, OJ, Tupac, and Loke Dog.
Yes.
Oh, the snipers list had.
And then the snipers list, his list said at the top, brothers who are trying to make it out the hood. And it was Ricky, Kane, Radio Raheem, and Malik. And then he X's off Malik.
It's so rude. So rude.
I would just say,
but that's such a smart way to do it, to actually have the white man doing the thing that the larger system is perpetuating. Again, it's that smart comedy.
And they picked the most tragic deaths in hood movies. You know what I mean? Like Ricky, Radio Raheem, and
Kane.
And Kane. Those are are the worst ones.
They're so terrible. And when Ashtray and Dashiki get done having sex, within seconds, Dashiki is like, I'm pregnant. And it's like, what?
And he said, already? She's gonna have 7 kids. I think I know. Oh my gosh.
And the fact that she
poured, I didn't like the whole scene, but when she poured Kool-Aid on him, I felt like they could have stopped it there.
It was
I felt like they could have stopped it there.
But see, that's classic Wayans. They always take it a little too far. But I think they do it on purpose. Like, let's just keep going.
In my observation, like that humor that takes things a little too far, I feel like that is what it even happens when you're watching an episode of SNL. It's like they got the bit, we saw what was funny, but then they just take it a step too far sometimes. And it's like all of the Adam Sandler movies, anything that's Happy Madison, there's at least one moment where somebody's throwing up excessively. And it's like, do we need vomit in every movie?
In every movie, right?
You know, so there's just that, what is it about like this, like that's just taking it a little too far for the people who kind of like do like the spoofing and the sketching.
That's somebody else we need to make sure we have on the list. I think we need some Adam Sandler movies.
Totally.
I'm gonna tell you another thing that kind of bothered me was the Def Jam sequence. Or not another thing, but I'll say one thing that bothered me was it just came out of nowhere. Like there was no lead up. It didn't even make sense based on, I even rewinded because they were talking about dreams.
Yeah.
It would have made sense. But he was saying he doesn't have a dream.
Well, that I understood that because it was basically saying that it's cool to act like you have no dream. And so Tone Loc was saying out loud, no, I don't have any dream. I'm going to be shiftless just like you.
Loc Dog.
Sorry.
Don't get it mixed up with the deep raspy rapper.
Loc Dog is like, he was saying out loud to someone who would be a mentor in the life of being shiftless. And he was saying, no, I don't have any dreams. But meanwhile, we then get a flash to his dream, which is to be a comedian.
Yeah. And it shows.
So that's why they did it right there.
I was just like,
Janiyah,
comedy jam.
You saved that scene for me.
Because that's what they're always saying. It's so cool. It's like being cool to say I have no dreams.
He was saying I don't have a dream, but we got to see the dream. Now I feel silly for missing that. I'm like, yes, that makes perfect sense.
Well, there was a lot of silly to catch in that movie, and I feel like would I watch it again? I mean, the thing to me, well, I have to now because I didn't see all the movies, but one of the things that I like, if you actually just took a pen and paper and you tried to write down every single thing that they just very smartly touched on, if the list would be huge.
Too much, yeah.
Because
so
they were
much.
just it was just such a smart way to weave so many
Genius
things together. Just
Genius.
the other character that Brittany, you started to talk about the grandma. I didn't appreciate the grandma character at first because I just thought that, well, first of all, they were very explicit when Ashtray walks into his cousin's house. They say, yeah, Loke Dog is from 3 generations of just like problematic behaviors or something. And so they were showing like the generational brokenness and the generational, exacerbation of like these issues playing out. And so they needed to show the grandma. But I just thought the way that they went with her, where it was like, she was so violent. She's telling her grandson, punch me, her grandson, punch me. She's out in the street in a car that like does the hopping up and down, hydraulics, and then she's like got the respect of all the gangsters on the streets. I didn't. And then she hops out at the end and is like shooting people with a rifle. I didn't appreciate it, but then I thought about it a little bit more. And I realized that what they were trying to, I think, really show there is that if you accept a truth and if you're writing a character and you accept a truth for a character, you're constantly having to ask yourself, if this particular truth is true for this character, what else would be true? And so when I sat back to realize they had created a really consistent character, I could respect grandma. So anyway, it was she became another moment of like, okay, I respect your writing. I don't think this is funny, but I respect your writing.
I think definitely it's interesting to give it that spin. But I also thought that it was just a juxtaposition thing. That it was just funny on the surface level of having this little old lady do all of these things. Yeah. And also with us growing up in church, like they put it to the extreme, the dance battle. But
they did that in Living Color too, didn't they? Where they did like the shouting.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, but they did like the shouting dance battle. And I'm just saying, if you grew up in a Black church, it's not explicit like that, but I mean,
something is going on.
Like when they start
and they
coming out,
their signature
like
moves.
It's like when people start catching it, then other people like.
Yeah, the Holy Ghost only comes when that music starts playing, and then everybody's got it.
And I'm just saying, the little old ladies all had their thing. Like I'm not, but like we could think of some of the things right now.
Totally.
That would happen.
Me and my girlfriend Cherie from growing up in church, we actually had named all of the shouts in the church. And you know what, y'all? I feel like I put it in a scrapbook. It was like 2 pages in a journal. And I'm not gonna say their names. We had named people like, actually, if I just say this one, you guys will know who I'm talking about. It was Airlines. Because she would fly around with the church with her arms straight out. Anyway, we had named each of them because they each had their signature. They had their signature.
Listen, signature shout. That spirit gonna hit you different every time. But see, I didn't think I was about to go there. I didn't think I won't
say it, but I want to say my favorite one was the lady who would run around with the prayer cloth on her face.
Yes. Yes.
Listen, mine was the one
a hippie dance
where he would scream and kick his leg forward. And I was like, I said, that brother would get up the aisle in hops.
In two hops, you up the aisle.
You are missing your calling. You are an Olympian. Did you know that?
Right.
So I'm just saying that was funny. That that was.
I didn't think.
What were you saying, Brie?
I didn't think you were going there when you were talking. I was like, oh, I didn't think he was about to say that. I thought that you were about to say, like, we grew up in church and we had two, little like sweet grandmas. Like, like I'm, one grandma, I think she might have had a pass. But I think, but I did for in all intents and purposes, we had, sweet grandmas that were like church ladies. Our father's mom, when we used to stay the night, I don't know if Janelle remembers this, but like Granny used to be praying for like an hour before she would go to sleep for everyone by name. And so
you would call every granny a church lady?
She used to go to church
on Easter.
She wasn't a church lady, but she was a Southern Belle.
I would say that. Okay, I would say that. I would say that.
I would give her, she was 80% Southern Belle.
But when she did start going to church consistently when she started in life. So anyway, but she would always pray. So I just say that to say that they were just sweet, stereotypical grandmas. Mm-hmm. And so I thought that you were going to say that was something, that type of grandma we didn't see. We didn't see that grandma growing up.
Oh no, I saw that grandma. I saw that because like those gangster old ladies.
Right. Well, I'm talking about in our family.
Oh no.
Right. Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah.
But those types of women, those types of grandmas, they absolutely exist. And it was like, of course,
I can think of three right now.
Of course, this was a trope, right? So it was way worse, grandmas jumping out of trash.
Right.
But now with, of course, social media, you have these type of grandmas being recorded now. And you're seeing these types of things. And then you have people like a Tyler Perry people are like, oh, Madea is just so crazy. It's like, no, many people are like, Madea is my grandma.
Yeah, that's
like that is my great grandma.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Like this is, so to see her doing that, it's like, while it is of course extra, which that movie is supposed to be extra, it is like it's not far-fetched. These people actually exist. And then it's like if you messing with my grandbaby, you messing with me. Because who was I listening to? Jamie Foxx. I think it was Jamie Foxx, and he was describing his grandmother. Was it Jamie Foxx? No, I can't remember. But it says a Black male comedian. And he was describing coming to his grandma and being like sad and like saying someone was messing with me. He said like this grandma put on her moo-moo, and something as they were walking down the street was swinging in her pocket, and he did not know what that was. And she pulled out the gun when they got to the house, like, this is my grandbaby, leave my grandbaby alone. Like, this is like these types of grandmas, they are out here and they are in the streets. And so
talking about grandma is a perfect opportunity for me to just name out a couple of the things in the movie that were just, again, these very extreme little things. I'm just going to list out a couple that appear in my notes, which are like, they had cereal in the cousin's house where this grandma lived, and the mom was making soup out of 40. She was pouring a 40 in the, you want some soup, baby? They had cereal in the cabinet called Tricks and Wheaties. Okay, outside the house, there was a wreath on the door that was made of grenades. Okay,
so terrible.
The character Loke Dog, his hair, he had condoms hanging out of it. He had
it would change every scene.
It
would change every scene.
It would change.
He had a bag of weed hanging one time.
And the dashiki,
and I did not notice his tattoos change. If you would have never said that, sis, I would not even have.
But at first it was a little flower,
right?
Toothpick. First it was a flower, then it was a peace sign. And when
that's because it came off on the windshield.
It came off of the windshield of the police car.
Yeah,
the kids.
The kids, Dashiki 7 kids, when she was like, "Oh, this is a nice man. What do you say to a nice man when you meet him? Are you my daddy?"
And they were all the kids were the same age.
All the same age in different races. And then the 40s were everywhere in this movie. 40s were like everywhere. You could not go 2 seconds without showing a 40. And they were called First to Die. That was what the 40 company was called. So anyway, there were just so many things where it's like, and then Ashtray goes for driver's test, and his driver examiner does robs a bank. Yes. And turns Ashtray now into a getaway driver, unbeknownst to him. unbeknownst to him, he's now a getaway driver. So it was jam-packed with all of these little things that, again, it was just smart writing, because in the moment you're not feeling like, oh, here they go again doing another one, but they're doing it every second. Every single thing is poking fun. They didn't miss any opportunity. So it was a lot, but it didn't overwhelm you. That's where the good writing is.
The part where they were getting the guns ready when they were about to do the drive-by, they were showing them with like super soakers. They were showing other stuff, and I was just like,
slingshot.
They had a business called Deep Fried Chicken and Oil, an oil change. It was called Rufus's Deep Fried Chicken and Oil Change.
It was so terrible. And the police just came over to bother them for no reason.
It's just
and that one police officer that hated Black people, he was like, I hate black pepper. I hate black keys on the piano.
That was pretty bad.
Do you remember the scene he was mimicking?
Yes, I do.
And I'm just saying, it's just interesting. I think it speaks to the writing that.
Wait, y'all. Before you move past that, what scene was that? Help me remember.
It was the scene in Boys in the Hood that sent him to go in and start
where the black cop is being really hard on him.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because I was like, okay. I forgot about that. Okay.
But I'm just saying, I think, Janai, that you're making a point in that the writing, the way everything was acted out was very 96. But as we're talking about it in retrospect, it's like the concepts, though, are still solid. So the type of comedy might not hit you the same way, but we're sitting here talking about things and laughing out loud about stuff we didn't laugh out loud about while we were watching it. And I just feel like
that's a good point.
That probably speaks to the writing and
always how
smart the comedy.
Okay, I have to throw out a couple more from my list.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Y'all. Okay, when Ashtray goes to jail and there is a dashiki wearing guy in the jail with him, which you think is going to be a mentor.
Yes.
And he's like, he's more like an Oswald Bates, because he's like, 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish. Okay.
But the funny thing is, I never got that one because I hadn't seen South Central until we watched it.
Okay.
That was one part that I thought I didn't know they were specifically referencing something, but if you remember, that's how conversation started. Yes. If you hit a man, he can heal. But
it started out sound, and then it just quickly went askew. That's right.
And he was cooking bacon on a hot plate. He was a Muslim.
You want some more
Muslim eating pork?
And then they were playing a board game, which was a Black version of Monopoly, and they landed on one, and they're like, okay, so you want to put these properties in this neighborhood, and they're like, you can only put bars and in this neighborhood,
cashing and liquor stores.
Yes. And then they were like, they landed on another one. It was like, okay, so you get arrested, and then there's a racially biased verdict. Again, it was so just like good. But it's not slapping you in the face, but it was constant. So to have that constant hitting on things without it feeling like, oh, here they go again, that's that good writing.
It's such good writing.
And I could just go on, but that's what all the notes are just, it's like funny little take after funny little take.
Yeah. Then one thing they did do, how they left them all was like a happy story at the end. Even though these happy stories were ridiculous, they still left them with happy stories at the end of the movie, which I thought was pretty funny. I was like, okay, I appreciate that they did do that part. That something worked out.
Malik did make it though. Malik
Malik
He's the
didn't
only
make it.
one.
Malik didn't make it.
Yeah.
And it was so much stuff how they shot him to. I was like,
And what about the pastor at the front of the church? Like, women, when you get hot and bothered, call
Exactly.
me. Don't ask questions. Call
don't ask,
me.
no question.
It's
In
like,
the
And it's
street.
fun, it is funny though, because like again, growing up in church, once you have that cadence going, it really doesn't matter what you're saying.
it doesn't matter what you're saying.
It doesn't. People are like,
yes.
Yes.
totally.
Also,
The-
anything to get the service going and moving quicker,
Yeah.
please.
And
We
wait,
don't
when
know
they
nothing
were
about
they were
quick
about to
service.
jump somebody into a
Nothing.
gang, and they did
Oh, they were doing step
they
practice.
did double dutch to jump somebody into the gang. They were like, "Are you ready? Are you ready? You're gonna get jumped in," and then he has to do double dutch.
It was so
And you know,
good.
at the time, you don't know which direction they're going to take it.
Mm-mm.
Like, are they going to do another overbeating? Are they going, you know, like, what are they going to do? But then if you listed 10 things, you would have put double dutch.
Mm-hmm.
You might even have put hopscotch, but you would have put.
And the fact that they were all doing the beat in the background, I was like, what?
And Marlon Wayans claimed that his brother, producer Keenan Ivory Wayans, made him and Shawn Wayans rewrite the script over and over to the point of being driven to tears. They reportedly did 27 drafts of the script before shooting began.
Wow.
And so this is not, you know, we sat down and came up with this. This was like a perfecting process. And I think we get to see the results in the really smart writing.
All right. Well, I think that's a good.
That was so good.
I think that's a good wrap up point.
It is.
Wrap point.
Can I add one thing? That song at the end. Since we're talking about the end, that's because you know how now songs, as soon as a song is released, like everybody has it and all that. But back then, when you had to wait for a CD or you had to wait, you know what I'm saying? It was like a lot of times the soundtrack didn't
or
come out
recorded
till
off
after.
the radio.
And that song, Winter Wars, nobody, well, I hadn't heard it, and nobody around me had heard it. At that song that they played at the end. And it ended up being one of those classic music moments because Capadonna, who's the one, if you listen to the whole song, he raps for like 2 minutes at the end. And like when you were rapping back in the day, it would be called getting in the zone, right? And every once in a while, I can only think about like 4 or 5 of these records in general. But every once in a while, you can hear the rapper switch to the off the top freestyle. And he's just so in the zone that they just let him keep going. And it was just like, it was just one of those moments where we were sitting in the theater like, so I'm just saying the whole experience was put a button, you know, it put a button on it because they ended it with the dopest song. And like, even to this day, Capadonna wasn't even one of the biggest members of the Wu-Tang Clan, but that freestyle is legendary. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, when you're talking,
I'm happy that you said that because I was like, oh, Capadonna, that rapper all by himself.
Oh, you listen to it?
Is that a group? I didn't know who you were talking about.
Me neither.
Was it?
I was having
I'm so happy that you said Wu-Tang. I thought that they were a rapper all by themselves,
actually,
but they're a part of Wu-Tang, which has 87 members.
Right. So he I think that was his song because he was supposed to go last, but I don't think that, obviously your verse is supposed to be 16 bars, it's not supposed to be a whole half a song. But it's just like
87 bars.
But I'm just telling you, listening to it right now, listen to the song right now. Because at the end, I knew it was coming, but I'm saying listening to that song right now, I still
Winter Wars,
impressed.
performed by Ghostface Killah, Capadonna, Master Killer, Raekwon, and You God.
And
you don't have to say their names like that. You don't have to say their names like that.
No, yes, she does.
That's
That's what Genia does. That's what Genia does.
You don't have to say their names like that.
And what I'm saying is all of them were heavy hitters. You know what I'm saying? So for him, that is just a dope song. And I'm just saying it really speaks to the time that it wasn't a song that had nothing to do with the plot. It was just like, this is a dope song. So, and they played it a couple times, throughout the movie, but the music part. But anyway, so I'm just saying.
I'm happy you hit the music, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I will say, that was my call out. I didn't realize this movie had been made in 96. I literally thought the movie had been made sooner than that. And what made me go, when was this movie made? Was there was a song in there by Joe. And I was like, I know this song.
That was another
I was like,
song.
wait, what?
That was another. That song is a great song. She's talking about
things your man won't do.
I want to
the things your man won't do.
Because back then, and like that whole, I don't even see that anymore. I feel like we were the last generation of romantics where like, you would make mixtapes and there was all these songs that like, even though that song is horrible, it's also, in terms of what he's talking about, it's also so romantic.
Yeah.
Make love on a beach of jet black sand.
Listen.
Why is the sand polluted? Is that polluted or is there really black sand?
Oh, no, there's
black sand.
Of my limited experience.
There's black sand.
Okay.
But I don't want to make love on it. No, thank you. I don't.
Sand is definitely the worst.
I don't. No, thank you. It gets everywhere.
But I'm saying it sound good in the song.
Now, if you want to do it,
I don't hate the idea.
If you want to do it in a bungalow beside the black sand,
does it sound good in the song?
It sounds amazing.
It does.
Listen, I was on that black sand with Joe. Shout out to Joe. But you're
saying in real life,
do you know any of these other songs?
A bungalow.
Oh, in real life, we would be at a resort down the street from the sand.
What about Renee Lost Boys?
Exactly.
Go get dinner and then I got you.
Love making adjacent to the sand. Not on it. No, thank you.
I will say I don't remember these songs playing. I don't know if that's good or bad, but
Joe played during the scene where he was about to have sex with Dashiki. That's when it started.
Okay. Don't Give Up, performed by Kirk Franklin, Hezekiah Walker, Donald Lawrence, Karen Clark shared.
Yeah, that came on during Higher Learning. The Higher Learning scene when Omar Epps
when Malik was about to get out, but then the man got him. Okay.
He got shot. So that's when that came on.
Have y'all seen Higher Learning?
I've seen bits and pieces of it.
No.
Hey,
isn't Tyra Banks in that movie?
We need to put that one.
Ashamed.
Do you have like a priority list? We should put that one. Like that would, and I'm gonna just tell y'all, get your
well, we already know what happens to Malik. Okay, I'm putting it at the top of our Higher Learning. It's already on here, but
you don't know what happens to Malik. Just so
whoa.
All right. But what I'm saying is get your Kleenex ready. That's
because I was about to say I started actually watching that movie from the beginning the other day. So I'll just hold off and wait it and watch it when we're gonna watch it. It is.
So it could be fresh.
That movie is
because from what I've heard, because like sis, it's our topic. It deals with race relations and all the things.
Well, that's every topic. That's
every topic. Every topic.
We were doing so good. No, let's wrap up. So anyway,
I feel my fingers going back into the squad.
Let's go to the voting.
Mrs. Oswald Bates.
Let's go.
Mrs.
Bro.
Oswalda.
Does this movie get your mailman? Bro, it's dead air while you're pondering.
I'm sorry.
Yesterday.
Listen, I want everybody to know that wasn't.
You don't have to fill it with me.
That wasn't dead air. It was a dramatic pause. No, it was dead air, but I was.
It was dead air because.
But I'm just saying. No, you're. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm gonna give it my mailman. And I know, like, I didn't. I'm just telling y'all because, like, there were a couple of jokes about in our sibling text thread where it's like, what y'all said. I had to watch it in 3 parts. Like so, and I get that too. But I just feel like, I don't know. I just feel like it was good writing at the end of the day. And even though the comedy tropes might not stick up, it just earned its place in the list of movies. It's just of classic movies. So I'm gonna give it mine.
Yeah, you know, and bro, I understand.
Message.
I understand your extended dramatic pause on this because
I'm sorry about that too.
But I understand
it could have been 2 seconds shorter. Go ahead.
I understand it, bro, because this one's tricky.
Yeah, it's tricky.
You know, would I watch it again? I mean, I feel I need to watch it again, you know, for the reasons we talked about earlier. But let's just say I had seen all the movies that were referenced in it. So I felt like I was able to get a complete viewing. Would I watch it again in that context? You know what, y'all? I think I would. I don't think I would go out of my way to watch it.
But like if everybody was together, like if we were all, if there's a bunch of people hanging out and they were like, let's don't be a Menace, you wouldn't be opposed.
I wouldn't be opposed to it because, again, as I was watching it, I was definitely texting Aubrey and Brittany like, this is really long. Is this movie 19 hours? Like it felt long to me. And I think it felt long because I wasn't laughing and I expected to laugh. Because again, all I've ever wanted to do was to get the jokes in that movie.
Right.
And I felt let down that I wasn't laughing. But I also, the entire time I was still appreciating the movie. I was respecting it. I totally was. And so for that reason, I'm going to give this movie my Mailman. It is not something I think I'll ever actually laugh at. And in fact, this conversation, and when I go and watch it again, I might laugh now because I'll be reflecting on our conversation. But at the end of the day, that is what the movie, I think, was trying to do. It was happening in the moment that conversations about these movies were happening. And so it was it was creating another layer to the dialogue that was already happening. And I definitely celebrate it for pointing out the importance of us being able to laugh at these really difficult things as we're holding them as truths and things that need to be dealt with. We also can laugh at ourselves, and that's the good and bad of Black resilience, you know. So and that's why it gets the Mailman.
I think it's to Brittany's point that she talked about, I think it was last podcast, where this was definitely a movie that was best observed in the hood movie theater in 1996. Sure. Like that was the best. Like that's
like where it was intended to be watched. Because it's the whole thing is an inside joke.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm. The movie does get my Mailman because of what it meant to the culture, what it does mean.
For the people listening, me and Brittany both just
did the finger class.
Janai did it too.
Yep.
What this movie means to
that's what it is, the message figure.
The message
that's what we'll call it from now.
What the movie means to the culture. And I also think just because of what the Wayans family means to our culture.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's another good point, Britt. That's another good point, Britt. They get some extra points.
It's just because their story alone, being a family of like 11 people, 9 kids, I think, having situations where they were sleeping several to one mattress, like their story is so pivotal and important that I just think about them being these geniuses and having this level of writing and going in and having this desire to say, listen, we know everything is bad in the hood, y'all, but we can still laugh because that is something that has gotten our people to be here all of these centuries on this soil. Is because we do laugh. It's because we do find some joy in something. It is because we do forge forward, even though there's so many things that are trying to hold us back. And so I just appreciate the depth of that. And so them just pulling out those different portions and showing that. So yeah, I think just what this movie has meant to the culture and what the Wayans have brought to our culture and what they mean to our culture, I couldn't see this not being a classic. Like that based off of that, even though I wasn't like laughing out the whole movie, I was like, this family, what they've done, it's a classic. So definitely gets my Mailman.
And did y'all see the line in the movie? Did y'all catch that line where they were like commenting on Dashiki and they were like, she got more kids than Mrs. Wayans.
Yeah.
And they did say that. They did say that. And so I think that's so important. And listen, that like we always like to do, that could be a whole backstory as to that where y'all children, what's going on with your life? All these kids. What's up? So
I really enjoyed this podcast. I wasn't expecting us to be able to talk as much as we were able to.
I thought it would be our first 30-minute podcast ever because it wasn't going to be much to say.
Yeah. But
lies.
There you go.
Well, there you have it, everybody. Don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood is a classic from the Wright Perspective. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time.
We have to say a different kind of goodbye. This is season finale.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Y'all, season 2 in the can. Woo!
In the can.
Oh man, so exciting. And we already have all these great ideas for season 3, y'all. We're thinking about having guests on. You've already heard us nod to some of the content that we're planning to get to. So just hang in there with us, folks. And season 3 kicks off in September.
Can I say this?
Yes.
The guy, I don't know if there's any way to work this in, but the guy who played the guy in the wheelchair in Boys in the Hood lives next door to me.
What?
Yeah, it's so crazy. Oh. It's so crazy. Like he's really in a wheelchair. But anyway.
Yeah, and you know what? We all need to tap into our network. I didn't know that when we did. We do can we get some celebrities, like people who were in systems?
I don't know about celebrities, but like the
celebrity
people,
in hood film celebrity is celebrity.
But yeah, like I do feel like if I'd known at the time, I could have got in.
Yeah. It was after we finished our series on The Wire that a friend that I went to college with was like, "Oh, I was in that." I was like, "What? Come on."
Anyway, so now I'm just putting out the feel because you don't know what's going to happen.
These are teasers.
That's the point. This point we're trying to make. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what's going to happen.
Because neither do we, apparently. All right. Well, there it is. The end of season 2 of the Wright Perspective. I love you, bro and sis. I love y'all so much. All right. Have a great summer, everybody. We'll see you in September. Bye.